Shedeur Sanders says he's ready to play, and honestly, that's how we should feel. We'll talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer German, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast. I'm proudly covering your Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. Shedeur Sanders says he's ready to play right now. I expect nothing less from him. We've got a little back and forth between coaches as the Browns and Lions get ready to play on Sunday. And I both think they actually have the right idea when it comes to the key to winning the game this weekend and the blueprint for pulling off an even more stunning upset in week 4 for the Browns. I do want to thank you for being an everydayer with the Locked On Browns podcast, making us your first listen every single day. And as always, we appreciate you coming to hang out as you get you ready for the Browns and Lions on Sunday from Detroit. Battle of the Barge. Browns haven't won there since, I think, 1983. But we'll get into all that here in a second because Shedeur Sanders had a very candid conversation with ESPN Cleveland on Thursday that is very much worth talking about here today because he was basically asked about, how he stays ready from my good friend Justin Cooper, and he was awesome in this conversation with him, getting him to sort of talk through, how he views where he's at right now and watching other teams around the league. And he basically said, quote, not basically, this is his exact quote. He said, I know for sure, if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I'm capable of doing better than that. So sort of referencing other quarterbacks around the league that he's potentially better than, which I want to get into because I actually think in some respects, he might even be talking about the quarterback that he's sitting behind right now because Flacco has not looked good. He has not looked good. Now, whether or not the offense would look better with Shedeur Sanders, I think can be debated because I do think with better quarterback play, of course, things would look better. But at the same time, I think this offense any of these quarterbacks would be set up for failure because the offensive line has been really just inconsistent right now. There's the injuries up front that aren't helping matters. They don't have a run game that yet. I think they're on the cusp of that becoming their identity. And maybe that helps matters, but they don't really have an identity at this point. Receivers, other than Jerry Jeudy, aren't really getting that separation that they need to. So there's a lot of clunkiness to this offense that I don't think would behoove a rookie to have a ton of success right now. But I can understand where Shedeur Sanders says that he thinks he's better than a lot of quarterbacks in this league. And the other quote here from Shedeur was basically that his mindset is that he's staying ready for anything. And that he obviously has no control over whether or not he plays right now. But he said, if things pan out where I play and I'll be out there, then I'm ready to play. I'm ready to play right now. And listen, I don't know if people are miffed by this or not, but honestly, like Shedeur has always shown that he has this confidence in himself. And I've talked about this since, dating back to the combine when he was up at the podium at the combine talking about how he believes that teams should draft him because he's a program builder and he's done that at every place he's been and that he thinks he's going to do that at the NFL level. And I think it was the right sort of mindset and attitude that a potential franchise quarterback should have. Why would you want anything less from a guy that you hope or want to see pan out to be a franchise quarterback for you? Like, yes, he should believe that he's ready to play right now. He should believe that he's that good already. I think that confidence is an important piece of being a franchise quarterback just in general. And I'm okay with him having sort of those remarks there. And I don't think it's this end of it has to be this thing that rubs people the wrong way and he comes off as arrogant or whatever. But I've always said that about Shedeur. It's not an arrogance to me. It's always been just a confidence. And I think it takes a certain level of confidence just to make it to the NFL in general. I think it takes even more confidence to be a successful quarterback in this league. So I'm not surprised that he's saying these things. He's always had that confidence. So yeah, like I think that part of it I think is pretty normal and should be what you want to hear from a quarterback, a young quarterback who's trying to grow and develop and maybe at some point be a starter on your team and take the starting job and maybe play more consistently for you or be your starter or whatever. I got no qualms with that whatsoever. But, obviously, we're not going to see Shedeur still for a little while because, listen, the more games that Flacco wins, the longer he's going to be out there. I don't think Kevin Stefanski makes that switch until he absolutely has to, because I think once you make that switch, I mean, look what's going on with the Giants right now. You got Dexter Lawrence being asked about Jackson Dart taking over, and he doesn't seem too thrilled about a rookie taking over, as if like they've already thrown in the towel in the season and they're just trying to develop the rookie. I think the same thing sort of applies here. Like he has to measure the vibes in the locker room and make sure he doesn't ruffle feathers and make sure he's giving his team the best opportunity to win and be successful without, making it seem like they're just, blindly sort of throwing in the towel here and not giving it a legitimate run. And if they're winning football games, then it's going to delay the process even more. We also know Shedeur is third in line. So it's going to be Gabriel before it's him. And so the process of getting him out there is going to take some time. Now, I thought it was interesting that Shedeur Sanders said on the New Heights podcast that he's, he feels pretty confident that his son's going to play this year at some point. I think, listen, if you get to the end of the season, why not? But the Browns also have to weigh, once they play Gabriel, like, do they want to then bench him for Shedeur Sanders at the end of the season at some point? Maybe it'd be like, hey, let's give him a bone, throw him a bone here at the end of the season and play one game. But I said before the season started that there's a world where Shedeur just doesn't play because you don't have enough time. If they win, if they somehow pull off an upset on Sunday, or if they win in Minnesota, if they win against Minnesota in London next week and they're 2-3, and then you go to Pittsburgh and, you win or lose that game, whatever, but you come out of this first 6, you're 2-4, and then, you got the Dolphins on the other side, and all of a sudden you can be like a game within 500 if you win that one. Like, I don't know if they're making a quarterback change quick. And if they do, it's going to be Gabriel first. So there's things going to take time till we finally see him, even though he believes he's ready to play. And I believe him when he says that. Now, the other part of the quote that I thought was interesting, which I brought up, was that he mentioned like being better than other quarterbacks around this league. Again, have no problem with him expressing confidence in himself. That's how I want that personally from my franchise quarterback. But I started thinking about this more and more because I'm willing to bet Shedeur in some capacity is right about this. Like, he could be producing Bo Nix numbers right now. He could be producing Spencer Rattler numbers right now. Like, go look up these guys' numbers. They're not like otherworldly numbers. He could be producing JJ McCarthy numbers right now. He could be producing Tua numbers and Russell Wilson numbers. So I know he's not a starter anymore, but was a starter up until the other day when the Giants made the switch. Like, those are all true. In some respects, I kind of wonder if he was, I'm not going to say he was talking about Joe Flacco here, but in the back of his mind, I'm sure it's there that, like, I think I can run this offense better than what we're seeing right now. And so, yeah, do I think he could be producing Joe Flacco numbers? After the last 2 games, sure. Week 1, Joe Flacco was really, really good, and he was hindered by the drop passes, the deflected interceptions that were like fluke things that you don't really see twice in a game anyway. But yeah, like the Joe Flacco we've seen of late, that isn't really mobile. It isn't seen the field well. I think Shedeur Sanders could certainly give you at least what Joe Flacco's giving you, but definitely I think he could be better. I've said that all along. I think he's the most talented quarterback on this roster. But here's the kicker though as well. A lot of this does center around the offense as a whole. And as much as I think Shedeur has a chance to be successful in this league and maybe be the Browns franchise quarterback, I also understand that right now I don't know that any of these quarterbacks would be set up for success in this offense. Would it be better with Gabriel or Sanders? I think so, because they give you a little bit more than what Flacco can give you from a mobility standpoint, for sure. But this offensive line is leaking it all across the board. There's too many guys seeping through and getting pressure on the quarterback. The run game hasn't quite gotten itself to a place where it's the full identity of this team, although I think we're heading in that direction after Quinshon's game in week 3. So there's signs of life there, but they need that complementary run game. They need some other things to get on track. The receivers, again, aren't getting separation all the time. Jerry Jeudy is certainly getting open, but other guys aren't. And so there's just a lack of talent around the team and around the offense in general. And they're not really in a groove right now. Where do I think, so to the point where I think, like, if Shedeur was out there starting, it would look somewhat better. but I still don't know if he's fully set up for success. And I think that is what the Browns want to do with both these rookies, is if they're going to put them out there, they want it to be in a situation where they can be as successful as possible. And I think they need to sort of still evaluate where things are at before they make that switch, which is why Joe Flacco's out here for a 4th straight week, despite some of the struggles that he's had. But do I think that Shedeur Sanders at this stage of their careers, do I think Shedeur Sanders is better than Joe Flacco or a better option than Joe Flacco, a quarterback? Of course I do. I've liked Shedeur Sanders this entire time, but I also think Dylan Gabriel at this point would be a better option than Joe Flacco. I understand the reasons behind not making the switch, though, because they have to keep confidence in that locker room, keep guys playing hard, and they also have to think about the fact that pivoting means you're essentially, to the eyes of many of the players in that locker room, going into like rebuild mode or evaluation mode, and you just can't do that at this juncture. Now, if it looks bad this weekend, the Gabriel conversation flares back up, and we'll see what happens. I still don't think they'd start a rookie going into London. But yeah, I think both these rookies at this juncture would probably look better than Joe Flacco has in for the most part. I just don't know if they're set up for success in this offense right now. And I think the Browns want to get that on track a little bit better before they put either of these guys out there as well and set them up for failure. Coach Bulletin Board Material, courtesy of the Detroit Lions. We talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's a local sports bar packed on game days, your favorite coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving the community for decades. There are just places that bring the community together, like Mally's Chocolate, for example. Mally's is well known throughout Northeast Ohio. I go there and get Easter candy for my son every year, and I know for a fact the location North Olmsted. Yep, they're run by Square. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite local neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it mattered most. Let's break it down. And for the Browns, I'm looking at Quinshon Judkins, who delivered in a big way for the Browns in week 3. He scored his first career touchdown, rushed 18 times, for 94 yards, and is finally breathing some life into this Cleveland offense that has looked anemic for most of the season so far. Judkins came through, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Quinshon Judkins is on a streak. And just like Quinshon Judkins delivered for the Browns, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save on your Saturday order, stack it up all season, and you can save it to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply, period, through November 18th. All right, so on top of Shedeur Sanders' comments on being ready to play right now, we also have some interesting comments being made by coaches of these two teams. And more so, it's centered around what the Lions offensive coordinator John Morton had to say, and less about Jim Schwartz, although Jim Schwartz did respond to these comments, and I thought what was a somewhat defensive way. And I feel like it's a little bit of bulletin board material. So John Morton, OC of the Detroit Lions, basically talked about how, yes, the Browns' run defense is really, really good. They're first in the league in terms of yards allowed this season per game. They're first in the league in yards per carry per game. And so he made a comment that his backfield, which features obviously Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, one of the best in football, maybe the best duo in football, that he doesn't think they've seen a run game like ours. Now, listen, on one hand, I get it. This is a very unique and really talented backfield that the Lions boast. Is part of the reason they have one of the best offenses in football, why they are an offensive juggernaut. And there is something to be said for the group that's back there, and the Browns having a challenge on their hands to shut it down. But the notion that the Browns haven't faced like a good run game this year, or that they haven't necessarily seen that, or that, just because it's two different guys that they haven't seen yet this season, that they can't shut it down again, I think is kind of funny, because I don't know, as I look through the Browns schedule, the Bengals aren't much of a run team. I'm about to quote like Jim Schwartz here unintentionally, but like the Ravens, for example, with Lamar Jackson, and I know he's a quarterback, and Derrick Henry boast what I think is one of the best running dynamic duos in all of football. Like it's a complete, they are a complete package of like Lamar's the finesse and then Derrick Henry's the power. And I don't know, like there's not a lot of attacks on the ground that are as difficult to stop as those two. And the Browns held those two to a combined 36 yards rushing in their game in week 2, which spoke to how dominant they were despite the game getting lopsided at the end. I mean, they were phenomenal. That's a hard unit to stop. That's a hard group to stop. When you got Lamar Jackson on RPOs and he can either hand it off to Derrick Henry coming downhill at you or pull it and just try to juke the mess out of somebody in open space and make a play. I mean, that's a tough thing to stop. I honestly think, like, with how much this team sees the Ravens and sees Lamar Jackson year over year, it's prepared them to stop almost any sort of runner in general in this league. And so, listen, I'm not saying that the Lions group isn't fantastic. They are. But I thought it was interesting that John Morton decided to provide some bulletin board material in that way, understanding that, like, maybe, yeah, you know what? The Browns haven't seen a run game like yours. You also haven't seen a defense like the Browns, which you could argue maybe the Packers are up there. But this Browns defense is a different beast, the way that they're shutting down the run, the way that they're getting pressure on quarterbacks, the way that they're just, making games feel stuck in the mud to keep their team in it. It's pretty remarkable, all things considered. But yeah, man, like I don't know where he gets this idea that the Browns can't slow down this run game just because it's Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It's great. Don't get me wrong. But I think the Browns can be up to that challenge. And Jim Schwartz certainly thinks that the Browns can be up to that challenge because he responded to those comments. And I thought in an appropriate way. He said, we face some good running offenses. He talked about what I talked about, the fact that Green Bay can run the ball really well. I mean, they did shut down Josh Jacobs. I know it's not two guys that they really have to offer in terms of like a 1-2 punch, Green Bay, but Josh Jacobs was one of the best rushers in football last year, 1,300 yards, all those things. I mentioned Baltimore. Jim Schwartz alluded to that. Now, he's responding, and he's doing it in a way where I thought was respectful. Like, he was showing respect for the fact that they are really good. 2 different running backs, he said, you've got to protect your edges. You got to defend all 53 1/3 yards from sideline to sideline, particularly with Gibbs. And then there's a lot of passes that are just extensions of the run game, a lot of screen passes, a lot of quick passes. Even the checkdowns are sort of an extension of the run game. So our ability to play run defense, our ability to tackle an open field, that's a major part of the game plan moving forward. And that is the other part of this that I think needs to be hit on, because I think these two guys both know in exchanging these comments to each other, I think they both know that this game is going to be won or lost based off of shutting down the Lions' run game. If they can limit Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and make the Lions more one-dimensional, Browns absolutely have a chance to win this game. If they're getting gouged by those two guys, I think it's probably going to be an ugly, ugly game, and they're going to probably get blown out. The defense has been up to the task of stopping a lot of these runs to this point. Yes, different challenge here. I still think they can certainly slow them down. But that, to me, is a pivotal part of this game, is being able to slow those guys down and limit the damage from those two guys specifically. And if they do that, I think there's absolutely a chance that the Browns can win this game and keep it close and basically try to do what they did last week and give the offense a few opportunities to score. And then maybe they eke it out and surprise everybody for the second consecutive week. I mean, the other way to look at this too is, the Lions, in their 2 wins, rushed for a combined 401 yards, respectively. In their loss to Green Bay, they ran for 46 yards. So big discrepancy there. That's how you stop the Lions, in my opinion, offense. You got to stop those 2 dynamic runners, and you got to force Jared Goff to beat you. And honestly, like, Jared Goff still might beat you. We'll talk about that here coming up. but you'll take that and maybe force him into some mistakes over just getting absolutely ravaged by these two running backs. And so I think in having this kind of back and forth with each other, with John Morton starting it with they haven't seen a run game like ours, and then Jim Schwartz sort of responding in his own right in a respectful way, I think they are onto something in that this game is going to be decided, in my opinion, based off of the Browns' ability to stop that run game. If they can do it, they'll be in it. If they can't, it's probably game over pretty early. By the way, Mike Call Jr. practiced with the Browns yesterday after he was limited late in the week last week, and then DMP, and then he was limited this week, but he was back out there on Thursday. So chance that you're getting even more reinforcements on that great defensive line that has been the key cog to all their successes this year, and obviously set them up to win last week. So it's another guy up front that can cause some problems in the run game, cause some problems for Jared Goff and getting pressure. It's just another body to have out there that I'm sure Jim Schwartz is happy is going to be out there for them. But yeah, I think I was surprised that John Morton wanted to provide some bulletin board material for the Browns. But at the same time, I do think both these guys are onto something, because that's going to be the biggest key in my estimation to this game on Sunday, shutting down the Lions run game. If it's possible for the Browns to do, which I think it is, they'll have a chance to win. If they can't, it's probably going to get ugly. Now, speaking of which, can the Browns actually shock the world again? And maybe even more so, because I think this Lions team is the biggest challenge they faced. We'll talk about it coming up on the Locked On Browns podcast. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. As of August of 2025, they make cars that keep you and your family protected. From footwork to breathe work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. Plus, all-wheel drive is standard in every crossover SUV, so you can drive with confidence throughout almost any season, which is great if you live in Cleveland like me, because this time of year, you can get all 4 seasons in a single day. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. The blueprint to beating the Lions starts with what I talked about last segment. They absolutely positively have to be able to slow down David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think conversely, for the Browns to win this game, they need to be able to run the football themselves. That's going to be the key. And I am intrigued by this because I rattled off the stats earlier in the week from True Media about Quinshon Judkins leading the league in yards per attempt after contact, and how the Browns' run game in general is better in yards after contact per carry than they are yards before contact per carry, which speaks to the struggles of the offensive line so far this year. But his ability to find the hole, attack it, get through there, make something happen, break big plays, which we saw last week start to sort of happen for him. Those are the things that are going to drive this offense moving forward. They need to get back to being a run team and make that their identity. And if they can make it their identity this week, the offense, I think, can sort of settle in a little bit better. I think Flacco can have more success. It'll take some pressure off of Flacco, because you're going to have to always account for guys like Quinshon going out and making plays, even in the pass game to a degree. And you can do more play action stuff that way and get guys downfield potentially open, because guys bite on their fakes, and then you can start attacking downfield, which has been the thing everyone's been bringing up, how they've been missing the downfield attacking offense. Well, there's a reason for that. The play action hasn't really been a threat because nobody's worried about the Browns run game right now, but that is slowly but surely changing with every snap that Quinshon plays, every down that Quinshon plays, every game that Quinshon plays. And I think this is the game where he could really break out. And if he does, man, he could help single-handedly sort of transform this offense and help the Browns win this game. So run the football effectively, stop the run on the other side are the two big keys, I think, going into this weekend for the Cleveland Browns if they're going to win this game from an offensive standpoint. But I still say you got to make Jared Goff beat you. And honestly, like I said, he may end up doing it because he has elevated his game over the last couple of years with the Lions. to the point where I think he is a top 10 quarterback in this league. Absolutely. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. I have no qualms about saying that. He's been great. He's dispelled a lot of the conversations and rumors about him over the years, that he wasn't a very good quarterback and all these other things. I think, he's coming to his own. Detroit's been a great fit for him. I like to see that he's been successful there. He's honestly a great fit for Detroit and the mentality that they have right now and all those different things. And it's been a cool run to watch this Detroit team from a distance sort of transform itself. I think there is a I want to say like romantic feel about it, but I think Browns fans should be able to connect with Detroit over the Lions, becoming a Super Bowl contender, because that's like the dream here, right? Like Browns fans want that for the Browns. And if the Lions can do it after all the years of losing and awful football and all that they've had, then it feels like the Browns can certainly get to that point at some point too. And so Jared Goff's been at the forefront of that. He's really good, but I still think he's a quarterback that we've seen. Like, he has dug games sometimes, more often than even like the elite of the elite quarterbacks. And so he can make mistakes. I think I brought it up earlier in the week. Like, he had that 5 interception game. I think it was last year. Like, sometimes there's dug games. And so this Browns defensive line, per usual, is the key to everything. If they can stop the run, and then conversely, they can generate, or I guess accompanying that, they can get pressure on Jared Goff, rattle him a little bit, get him flustered, and have him make some mistakes. It's the perfect recipe for getting a win and stealing a win in Detroit against a really good Lions team. I almost said Tigers, because the Tigers and Guardians just wrapped up their series, and they're tied in first place in the Central, going to the final 3 games of the season. So there's a lot of Cleveland-Detroit sports hatred going on this week, and we'll see it play on the football field on Sunday. But I think that is the recipe for slowing down this Lions offense. Not that that's going to be easy, because this Lions offense is phenomenal. They're second in the league in scoring for an offense. They're up there in most of the major other statistical categories that you look at as well. They have been phenomenal. They've been fantastic. They're a hard group to stop. This is, as I've said, the biggest challenge for the Browns defense to date, the best offense they faced to date. That's all due respect to the Ravens, who I think are also really good. This offense is another level above that, and I think we saw that in that game on Monday night against the Ravens, that even the Ravens didn't have all the answers offensively to like keep up with this Lions team. And so that's my biggest fear, is that the game gets out of hand and the Browns just don't stand a chance. I think the Browns defense can keep it close for a while, but this does feel like another game where they keep it as close as they can. The offense maybe hangs in there for a little bit, and then unless there's an exuberant amount of turnovers, unless the defense forces like 3 turnovers, gives the offense a couple short fields, and they can really just like, set this thing up to be an upset alert game and steal one. I just think it's going to be too much to overcome, and they'll pull away late in the game to win. So with that said, I talked about this on the crossover episode with Matt Dare yesterday. I think I am going to go Lions 31, Browns. I really want to bring myself to get, at some point, someone's going to say they're going to score 20 points and they're going to be right. But I don't know if I can factor in a defensive touchdown yet. I don't know if I want to be that bold. So I'm going to say 31-17. The Lions win this game. I think that's a fair score. I'm stealing it from Matt Dare. I think he actually said that yesterday first, but I'm stealing that exact score because I do feel like that's probably where this thing falls. And I think it'll be close for a little while. Like, I can see it being like a 17-10 game going into the fourth quarter, and then the Lions pull away late type deal. But I just think this Lions offense is a little bit too much. But maybe John Morton's bulletin board material adds a little spice to this one, and the Browns do force a bunch of turnovers and do shut down the offense and do maybe score a defensive touchdown. And all of a sudden, that's the complete recipe you need for an upset over a Detroit Lions team that's really, really good on offense in particular. So I will be there. I will talk to you guys on Sunday. But in the meantime, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Locked On Browns podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make Locked On Browns your first listen every day, wherever you get your podcasts, and at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. For your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. First with Tyler, the Madman Roland in the mornings, And then Tony Wiggins with the barbershop. He's got some of the smoothest breakdowns to end your day. You can find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And also keep it local. Check out Locked On Cavs, who are gearing up for the start of the season, or Locked On Guardians, who are in the thick of a playoff race. Thank you for being an everydayer at the Locked On Podcast Network. Talk to you again real soon, Cleveland. See ya.